Today we have the all-new third-generation Chevy Traverse. In this video, I'll talk about what the new Traverse is, how I feel about the interior space, and what it's like to drive it. Now, if you're watching this, you're probably in the market for a family midsize SUV, and let me tell you something, you don't have the easiest job on earth, and I'm not talking about being a parent. I'm talking about picking one because there are so many strong choices. I mean, we have a Toyota Grand Highlander, Mazda CX-90, Volkswagen Atlas, Hyundai Palisade, Kia Telluride, or a Honda Pilot, so we're talking about some strong players here. So, what is the new Traverse? For 2024, Chevy completely redesigned their midsize SUV. They changed the styling inside and out, put it on a new platform, and gave it new 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Yes, gone is the V6. The Traverse can only be gone with a turbo 4-cylinder. It makes about 328 horsepower, 326 pound-feet of torque, and it's good for around 19 miles per gallon in the city, 24 on highway, and 21 combined. Now, I said that the Traverse sits on a new platform, so what is it? The VSSS architecture is shared with the GMC Acadia or the Buick Enclave. It features front strut suspension, multilink setup in the back, and it's combined with regular passive dampers, so there's no adaptive suspension. But when you think about it, that's the thing that you would probably want to avoid in a midsize SUV because you want to keep the cost low. It starts for about 39 grand for a base LS front-wheel drive model and tops at around 54-55 for the RS all-wheel drive that we're testing today. Now, before we talk what it's like to drive the new Traverse, let's take a look inside and talk about the interior space. When you first look at the cabin of the new Traverse, it will probably wow you, and I'm not talking about the big display that dominates the dashboard. Compared to what Chevy used to make in the past, this is light years ahead, and the product planners put some thought into the look and feel instead of letting a group of interns design a space where you spend a lot of your time. Now, the design is there, but there is still space for an improvement when it comes to quality, especially when a car like the Mazda CX-90 exists. The cabin features a lot of hard-touch plastics, and while I can care less about the lower portion of the dash or the center console, some of the materials that are visible and you interact with simply look and feel cheap. One area where the Traverse shines though is the interior space. I mean, we're talking about one of the roomiest SUVs in the segment. It offers 23 cubic feet of space behind the third row, 57 behind the second row, and an impressive 98 cubic feet of space after folding all seats down. There are a lot of storage solutions across the cabin, the door pockets are of a decent size, the center console is massive, and you can tell that this thing has been designed with usability in mind, and you will definitely appreciate what it offers as a family hauler. Now, the two captain's chairs are adjustable, they are heated, and your passengers in the second row will like the third zone climate control, USB-C charging ports, and a household power outlet. The third row here is actually usable, which is not so obvious in the segment of midsize SUVs, and even adults can travel comfortably. The front seats are pretty average on the other hand. They accommodate basically any body type and offer okay adjustability, but there's virtually no support, so you will slide around even when taking some on and off ramps. Now, since we're up front, let's talk about the technology. The Traverse obviously received a Google-based infotainment system with a massive 17.7-inch display. There is some learning curve in the beginning with the interface, but the layout is pretty logical. You still get physical HVAC controls, and if you like using wireless Apple CarPlay, I got some good news for you. The Traverse still offers that functionality, unlike fully electric GM products. The digital gauge cluster is fairly customizable. You can display a full-screen map or a driver assist information, as well as trip computer or other vehicle information. Alright, so that was the interior of the new Chevy Traverse. Let's get it on the road now and see how it drives. Okay, driving the new Traverse. Now, if you've seen other reviews of the Chevy Traverse or heard what owners say, people complain about the powertrain and the engine, to be specific. People say that it's unrefined and it doesn't have enough power, so let's see if it's true. Since we're on our favorite back road, let's put this bad boy into sport mode. The drive mode selector is located over here. Floor it and... oh boy, that sounds atrocious. Yeah, this motor definitely lacks refinement.
and it's not super torquey for a turbo engine, which is kind of surprising. Now, the torque peak in the Traverse is at around 3,500 RPM, which is high for a turbo engine. Many of the competitors that have turbo engines wake up around 2,500 RPM to give you that full torque you get from the turbo. But here, there is a noticeable lag, and it just doesn't feel as fast as I wish it did. It makes 328 horsepower, 326 pound-feet of torque, so the figures are there, but the actual performance, well, it isn't. Now, the 8-speed automatic transmission that transfers the power to all wheels, in case of our tester, is fine. It is a little clunky sometimes, gets a little confused, doesn't know when to downshift, and I also heard people had issues with this transmission, so I don't know how it's gonna be in the long run, like the whole powertrain, but yeah, the powertrain is the component that requires refinement in the Traverse. Now, the fuel economy also isn't all that great. I was averaging about 17 miles per gallon in the city. The highest I saw on the highway was 24.6, 21, 22 combined. So again, competition, especially if you look at hybrid offerings from Toyota, well, they will just do better. Now, since we're driving the RS, model that received stiffer suspension, the Traverse should handle good, right? That's the logic. And I'm not gonna lie, for what it is, for being a big 4,600 pound SUV, it handles okay. It doesn't feel as floaty or sloppy like the Kia Telluride or the Hyundai Palisade. Obviously, there is body roll, there is understeer, but hey, who's gonna toss a big 3-row midsize SUV in corners? That's not what this car is made for. It's made for comfortable travel, and how does it do when we travel comfortably? Put it into comfort mode. As I said, we get passive dampers, so there's no adaptive functionality, and that's good because you want to keep the running cost of your family SUV low. When you drive it normally, it feels refined. You can tell the suspension is a little bit stiffer, but I like how it reacts to any road imperfections. It's better than the Mazda CX-90. You don't get that unnecessary vibration that gets transmitted. It's still relatively compliant. We have 22-inch rims on the RS, so that doesn't help, but I'm really happy with how it soaks up all the road imperfections. The cabin is also very well isolated. It's quiet. There is a little bit of wind noise, but Chevy did a good job with eliminating all the NVH from the road. It's fantastic. It's super quiet, and our tester also has the Super Cruise, and if you don't know what the Super Cruise is, it's GM's semi-autonomous hands-free driving system that's compatible on more than 200,000 roads in the US and Canada. All you have to do is enable your adaptive cruise control, confirm Super Cruise, and the car will even automatically change lanes for you. Overall, I like how the Traverse behaves. It's not the best, but we're gonna get into final thoughts and summarize this thing.
Chevy is heading in the right direction with each of their new models being a big improvement over the predecessors, and while the Traverse isn't the best midsize SUV, guess what? One does not exist. Each of the vehicles in the segment are strong in one aspect but weak in another, and the same applies to the Traverse. So what is good here? The cabin space is definitely a highlight. The third row is actually usable, the cargo space is impressive, and the Traverse offers decent driving dynamics while maintaining a good level of comfort. The biggest thing that requires improvement is the engine. It feels unrefined, and given it's a relatively new unit, I question its reliability and how it will do in the long run. Also, the interior features a lot of hard plastics, and for an SUV price in the mid-50s, I expect a little bit more, especially looking at what the competition offers.
If you have any questions about the new Traverse, drop a comment and I'll answer them. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.